You're very welcome to the Firm and Fast Golf Podcast. I'm your host, Shane Darby. Golf is full of great people, and my guest today, Terry Thornton, is assuredly one of those. Terry plays most of his golf at the Royal Adelaide Golf Club, a truly world-class club that extends a world-class welcome to all visiting golfers. Having experienced the RA welcome firsthand in 2020, it was my absolute pleasure to welcome Terry to Ireland and to accompany him at a few of my favourite Irish courses over the course of a few great days this summer just past. Like many Aussies, Terry is well travelled from a golfing perspective, a golfing connoisseur if you will. Prior to summer 2025, a glaring omission on his dance card was Ireland. Over the course of the next hour or so, we chat about foursomes with Mike Clayton, the exciting news of the official opening of 7 Mile Beach in Hobart, favourite Irish courses and holes, course subcommittees and more. Many thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the chat. Terry Thornton, you're very welcome to the Firm and Fast Golf Podcast. How are you?
Shane Darby, I'm very, very pleased to be with you, and I'm in fine spirits, thank you, coming into the warmer part of the year. I'm really good, thank you. Thanks for asking.
Good. Many thanks for taking the time to join me this morning to chat about your 2025 Irish adventure. However, before we jump into that subject matter, I understand that you're just back from a golf trip to Robe in country South Australia. How was that?
It was terrific. For your listeners who don't know where Robe is, which is probably 99% of them, it's about a 4-hour drive southeast of Adelaide, a coastal place, quite historical. It was around in the gold rush days, 1850s, and it's got an interesting course which is really made up of 3 6-hole sections, which are very different from each other, as the course has been able to expand into the dunes land recently, and move away from some very flat holes which they sold off for housing. Three very distinct holes, and the club actually offers a 6-hole, a 12-hole, or an 18-hole rate, which is interesting. We also played at a course I hadn't played before at Kingston on the way down, which is a small town. Both of these towns are fairly small. They're probably both 3,000 to 5,000 people, I'm guessing, but in summer they probably expand to about 15,000 people with holidaymakers from Victoria and South Australia. Kingston was a very fine, members course run by maybe one green staff and some volunteers, but it's nice green sites, great condition. Greens were terrific, and just a nice country members club. Well, both of them are, for that matter, and we're well looked after.
Presumably there was some reprobates from Royal Adelaide went down with you.
Yes, there were 12 all up. So we had 3 groups of 4 or 4 groups of 3, and some were staying on to meet their better halves afterwards, because it's quite the holiday spot. It's just our school holidays have just finished, but none of the combatants were school age, well and truly. And it was 12 of us. It was lovely, really good.
Good. Well, listen, observant listeners may recognise your name and or your voice from the No Laying Up 2024 Tourist Sauce series in Australia, where you hosted that motley crew at the ever-majestic Royal Adelaide Golf Club, where you were a member, as we said. I'm sure many of my Australian listeners will probably know who you are. However, for the benefit of everybody else, you might give us a quick introduction to Terry Thornton and where your passion for golf and particularly golf architecture comes from.
Okay. It's brought up in rural New South Wales in a town of 2,000 people, 3 hours away from the nearest capital city, which was Melbourne. And growing up in a small country town, you play every sport that's on offer. So the national Australian rules football, cricket, tennis and golf were available in town as a young bloke. So I played all of those. We lived down at the end of town that had the golf, where the golf course was. And for a small country town in that area, we were fortunate to have access to water, irrigation water. So Finley was the name of the town. It was one of the few in those days in the immediate area that had 18 grass greens. Some had 9 grass, 9 sand. So we thought we were pretty well off. Very flat course. Again, just a members club run by volunteers, more or less. We'd go down for a Saturday morning and play 6 holes under the tutelage or the watchful eye of one of the members. Great place to spend the afternoons after school. Put the little push buggy on the back of the bike and attach it under the seat and ride down to spend many hours down there. So that's where I first started playing golf, probably as about a 12-year-old. I moved to Sydney in 1980 and shift worked my whole life and didn't really play any sport for a few years. When I decided to get a bit more active, golf was just something because I had played it before. I couldn't play team sport because I was on irregular hours. So started looking around courses in Sydney to play and happened to fall into a membership of New South Wales Golf Club, mid-80s, no joining fee, no wait list, which probably some people would be crying in the background thinking about that compared to what you do now. I was going to join the course right next door to it, St Michael's, and I made an acquaintance at the airport where I was working at the time, and he said, "Why don't you come and play at New South Wales?" And I said, "Where's that?" And he said, "Well, when you play St Michael's and you get up the top of the second hole, there's a course there and there's never anybody on it." And I said, "I've seen that." And he said, "Yeah, well, that's it." So I went and had a game. I thought, I'm not the brightest bloke here, but I can tell it's pretty damn good. So I very quickly joined when I found out how easy it was to do. And I think I had a 23 handicap or something at the time. I had a very good friend through work. There was a very good golfer, club champion at his course, not there. And he had some golf books on his shelf, and I picked one up one day, attracted to the very pretty picture or the photo on the front, which was a photo of an American golf course, a nice, wild, natural-looking golf course with a river running through it. And that was the golf course by Cornish and Witten, which I think is now called The Architects of Golf. I think it's that book. So I had to read through that and started thinking, gee, there's stuff's on golf courses for a reason. Bunkers are on the place for a reason. A fairway is tilted this way for a reason. Tees are placed here for a reason. And my handicap went from 23 to 12 in about 6 months when I started thinking about what I should be doing to properly play the game instead of just walk the golf course and belt it wherever. So that's where my interest in golf, as in golf architecture, came from, as much just trying to understand it to more fully understand the game of golf. And as I got into reading historical books, J.H. Taylor, Life and Times and things like that, and then reading about the conditions of courses there and how courses evolved over time, became more and more interested. And so I guess that was the happy stance of picking up that golf book by Cornish and Witten was the start of my interest and my continued interest in the architectural side of golf.
And you mentioned your shift work as a air traffic controller, and I believe that would bring you around the country a little bit and opened up some other golfing opportunities from a membership perspective.
It did indeed. I used to look after. Well, when I transferred to Adelaide in 2006, I, after a few years, became in charge of training here, and it's a small station, so we get new trainees in, and we'd have to go to Melbourne to run the simulator there. We didn't have a simulator in Adelaide, and that meant going to Melbourne for 2 or 3 times a year for 3 or 4 weeks at a time. And as a Royal Adelaide member, I was able to use my reciprocal at Royal Melbourne. A lot of Australian clubs have reciprocity between clubs, and we were very fortunate as one of the regional foundations club of the AGU to be hand in glove with Royal Melbourne in a lot of things, and we had a very good reciprocal relationship. And after a few years, I inquired as to the possibility of getting a temporary membership, which lasts for a few years, because I just thought I was sort of using the facilities and the good graces of the club without really putting my hand in my pocket too much. And the late, great Paul Rapp took it to committee, got a very nice letter from committee saying that they'd welcome me for temporary membership at 3 years, and then there was a most delightful paragraph at the end of the letter and said, at the end of 3 years, if you've been a member in good standing and you have any interest at all, on the payment of a joining fee, we'd be happy to have you as a full member of Royal Melbourne without having to go on the wait list. So it's about 3 of the best behaved years of my life waiting for that. And that came up. So, so I'm in a very fortunate position to be an interstate member of Royal Melbourne and of New South Wales. I kept my New South Wales membership. And well, because I met a bloke at an airport once who said, "Don't go to St Michael's, go to New South Wales." And New South Wales got me to Royal Adelaide, and Royal Adelaide got me to Royal Melbourne. And here I am.
I think that's the definition of serendipity.
I'll say, yes. I might have fallen on my head as a child, but I landed on my feet as an adult.
Damn right you did. Damn right you did. Listen, talking about travel, I was actually out golfing yesterday and was rudely interrupted by an email from Matt Goggin, which is always great, but regarding obviously the official opening of booking for the 7 Mile Beach development in Hobart. I believe bookings went live this morning, 10 a.m. Australian time. First day of 18-hole play will be the 4th of December, and green fees are priced at $290. I know you got down to see the 7 Mile site during construction. Just wondering if the opportunity arose to play the 14-hole course during the preview play period.
I didn't go. I considered it seriously, because having walked the site in 21 when it was just a sandpit, with almost all the tree removed, it was not hard to get excited about the place. But I didn't go. But I am going down with a group of 20 or 30 of us that we've been privileged access probably about a week or 10 days before they open. Still paying the day rate, but it'll just be, say, 30 of us teeing off about 8 o'clock in the morning in groups and going around for as many times as we can fit in or feel fit enough to do. So, yes, really, really looking forward to that.
Would it be too rude to call you a wanker?
I've been called worse. Often.
Have you spoken to anybody that's had the pleasure of the preview play?
Yes, good friend who was over here for the Australian Hickory tournament, which was held at Royal Adelaide in the Grange Golf Club last week. He lives in Hobart and very kindly puts me up, and I go over there to visit. He's played it. I think they played 11 holes loops, and he was actually with me when we walked the site in 2021. And yes, he loves it. He's a member of Royal Hobart. Says he'll spend his time between both the courses when 7 Mile Beach is up. And yeah, I mean, he's thrilled. But he's the only one I've spoken to.
Okay. Well, I hope you have a marvelous trip down there. I can't wait at some point in the future to follow in your footsteps.
I'll be sure to let you know if it's worthwhile.
Well, please do. I'll be grimacing at the text message when it arrives.
Yeah.
No doubt accompanied by the bloody pictures you're going to send me.
Yeah, just a few thousand.
Yeah. Listen, you mentioned Hickory Golf there, and I was scrolling through the internet yesterday trying to find a profile picture for yourself to use for this episode. Didn't find many pictures of you other than a teapot with Marcel emblazoned on it. But that's a different story altogether. I did, however, come across some pictures from the 2024 Asia Pacific Hickory Championship. And everyone loves a Mike Clayton story, and I'm no different. And I did come across a picture, as I said, of you and Mike from the 2024 Asia Pacific Hickory Championships, where I understand you were Forcemas partners. Now, you didn't tell me about this when you were over in Ireland. Can you elaborate on how this came to pass and how you found what I can only assume to be a cherished memory?
It was terrific. Yeah, I learned a few new words in 18 holes of Hickory Golf with Mike. He's I've met Mike a few times. Terrific bloke, and just talks all things golf and puts you at ease very easily. No questions off limit, basically, when you're talking about golf with him, and he's just a font of knowledge, and has been terrific for Australian golf and remains so. The round we played together was at Sandy Links across the road from Royal Melbourne, and he was sort of pressed by maybe Justin Ryan or someone to come along, and he should play. Mike plays Persimmon a fair bit, I think, down St Andrews Beach. So he gave Hickories a try. I'm sure he'd probably hit them a few times before. Certainly looked like he had. Luck of the draw, I was paired with him. I think, everyone else had a partner and I didn't. Neither did he. So everyone else's dance card was full, and we were two wallflowers waiting for each other. And it was a terrific round. I think, did we come second? I think, maybe. Don't think we won. I think we came second.
I believe the website said you came second, right? Yeah.
There you go, yeah. And we fitted really well. both drove it really well that day. It was Canadian foursomes, which is where, I don't know what it's called in Ireland, but you both tee off and then you pick the ball you're going to use and the other person hits that. So if I hit the fairway somewhere near where he could reach the green, he'd play the next one because he was hitting greens with, mashies and not shanking them like I might have. And so we hit a lot of greens in regulation, which is not my game at all, and had a terrific day. And came in second, bottle of wine, and lovely.
Nice. Well, listen, let's go on to the main event. As a self-confessed golf tragic, travelled extensively throughout Australia, mainland UK and the USA. However, it was not until this past Northern Hemisphere summer that you got as far as Ireland. Please explain yourself while also introducing you to how the stars aligned in 2025 to facilitate what was, assuming my sums are correct, a 22-round, 27-day circumnavigation of the island of Ireland.
To answer the question why it took so long, I don't know. It took me 50 years of my life to get to Scotland and England, and then a few more years to Wales. And yes, I don't know, but this was a trip organised. It was supposed to be a Scottish trip in 2021. A group, again, Royal Adelaide members, 12 of us, and COVID put a stop to the 2021 one. When it was next organised, Ireland was on the agenda rather than Scotland, to which I quickly signed up for. I knew the big name courses, didn't know much else. Everything, I didn't have to organise anything. We just paid instalments on it for 18 months out. When we got there, all the golf had been paid for, food, wine. Basically, everything came out of the big kitty. And as you say, a lot of rounds and a lot of golf. I've, as you know, came over 10 days earlier because 14 rounds in 17 days wasn't going to be enough for me. And having met your good friend Niall Higgins when he ventured to Australia earlier, he assured me that if I turned up a little early for my trip, that I'd have the pleasure of meeting you and that you'd both look after me, which saying you looked after me doesn't begin to tell the story of how well you did both host me around your lovely island.
Well, to whet people's appetite, I think we just mentioned briefly the itinerary that you undertook. And as you said, you had a couple of places where you saw a second time, which is always useful. So in no particular order, County Louth, which you played twice, Portmarnock, which you played twice, the wee course, the Annesley course at Royal County Down, Beaver Park in the rain on a Saturday afternoon, Cork Golf Club, a Dr. Mackenzie creation down the south of the country, 3 or 4 spins around Royal Dublin, one at the European, Pat Ruddy's creation, the Island, Ballybunion Old, Dukes, Tralee, Waterville, the 3 courses at Rosapenna, Old Tom Morris, St. Patrick's and Sandy Hills, and Ballyliffin, Glashedy and Ballyliffin Old. That's quite the list.
It is quite the list, yes. Hard to top, really, and quite the place. Well, quite the places. Golf, very different than what I'd experienced on the UK mainland or the Big Island, but just fabulous golf, fabulous people. It was just a great time.
Did you have any particular expectations prior to departure?
I did not, Shane. I purposely didn't look too closely into any particular course or courses we were going to play. I had a rough idea geographically where we were going, but even then, because I was sort of being swept along for the ride, I didn't look into the detail too much of whether we were playing. I knew which courses were close to Dublin, and after that, I knew we were travelling. I didn't know north, south, first, east, west, wherever. Whether we were going into Northern Ireland or not, didn't really have a clue. My only real personal experience with people recounting Ireland was with Greg Ramsey, who was one of the driving forces at Barnbougle, and the story goes that I've met Greg a few times, and the story went that on a trip to Ireland and people raving about how big the dunes were and what great land it was for golf, remarked that they had bigger dunes than that on where he grew up in Tasmania, and went back and investigated, and the rest is history with the courses at Barnbougle and golf in Tasmania generally. So no, little expectation. if I had, I wouldn't have been disappointed, but I didn't.
Good. If we were to go through all of the courses, course by course, we'd be here until probably tomorrow. So I thought it might be useful or interesting to ask you to give us a Thornton's connoisseur choice, your favourite 5 courses in no particular order. And maybe once you've explained what those courses are and why you've chosen them, how perhaps the wider group you were with, some may have had different ideas as to what their favourite courses were.
Yeah, for your last comment there was quite interesting how people's perspectives are on courses that all the people that were on the trip I'd played with many times at Royal Adelaide, except one gentleman. And yeah, group think or common think about what we think of Royal Adelaide, because we've all been there for a long time. But new course, every course for me, of course, was the first timer, and just talking to people and getting their general interest was it was a terrific part of the trip actually, over a Guinness or a red wine or whatever else was going. So connoisseur's choice, that as you mentioned previously, playing a course more than once on these trips is terrific, and I don't think it's because of that, but just coincidentally, the 3 courses that I did have multiple players on are in my connoisseur's choice, and one of them being Port Marnie, which I played with your good self and Niall and a member, and that was just terrific. And then a week later, or maybe 2 weeks later, back there with the group, which included a very fine lunch and some wine afterwards. My thoughts on Port Marnie, and what particularly made it special for me, was the land is good without being spectacular, and they get everything out of it. I think there are constant changes of direction with the course. You're not really a circular routing, but it's certainly hugs the shore for a while, then comes back in, then zips you out again. Just great use of that land, and sort of always looking at different things, different wind direction and all that. You'll also play the ground game there in most cases, and there are a couple of blindish sort of things which give you a happy surprise as you go over without it being terribly difficult. And we had 4 caddies everywhere we went, so that was terrific. Another course, County Louth, which I think I got in. I don't know what day I got in. It was 1:30 one day, and you picked me up about 10 o'clock the next morning, I think, and we went to County Louth, and that was just brilliant. Just looking at that golf course as you approach it, and you sort of think that the dunes are over the far, or the big dunes are over the far side of the course, and you look at it and I'm thinking, this looks fantastic. This is golf in a paddock. How good is this going to be? Given its reputation, the fact that that a course that looks like it's sitting on with no natural advantages, certainly on the probably 2/3 of the course, they really wring everything out of that as well. And again, you could probably help me with the hole numbers here, but there are 2 just world-class run of holes. 3 through to about 8, is it? And then again later in the back 9.
Yeah.
I found myself thinking about those holes a lot while I was on the trip, when I got home, and today, every day. It's just remarkable how good that course is. We played it, you and I. It was a few days out from is it the East of Ireland Open?
Yeah.
Is that the event that was?
The East of Ireland Amateur, yeah.
Okay. And if you recall, they were protecting the green sites a little, so we had pins that were about 3 inches off the edge of the green in some guy, and it was fantastic. And I know we spoke to the general manager after it, and he was pleased that a visitor found it okay, because he had a lot of visitors, I think, that day that weren't too well pleased that was the case. Your own great course at Dollymount, I just loved. The strategic element of the course, and I know you've had CDP redo the bunkering there a few years ago, and they really, really got that right. And you explained to me sort of the design elements of the bunkers that were there before, and how they've been able to replicate and improve on those. Everything was in its place where it should be. If you got to the wrong side of the fairway, you're often presented with a there's a green up there and I can see the tip of the flag. I've got no idea whether I should be long, short, left, right. And if I hit the club to the distance, is it going to be good or is it going to be in perdition somewhere, 2 holes away? And that was quite often the case. I just love that you couldn't just pick a number and shoot. You really, really had. It was a very thinking man's course. Sorry about the dog in the background. A thinking man's course, I thought, and thrilling. It'd be as you're very lucky to have that as your regular play, and talk about thinking of counting your ass off. And I think of your 18th hole just about every day. I wish I could play that hole every day. It was just.
Tom Doak once explained it to be the poor man's first hole as the members play it in Royal Liverpool.
Oh, yeah, the third for the tournament.
Third for the tournament, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that a poor man's. I mean, it's I can imagine it quite polarising with people, and there are a couple in our group that were none too. No one hated it, but there were some that didn't see the charm and the attraction and the beauty that I found in it. But yes, that was just terrific.
Thank you for sharing those 3 choices with me. I suspect part of that love or appreciation comes from the fact that you had an opportunity to play all of your choices more than once.
Absolutely, yeah. It did play a part in it because I would have walked away from each of those courses thinking that was pretty special, but. Yeah, as you say, repeat play, and particularly Dollymount, because it does reveal itself slowly. An unspectacular sight, but just so much going on that you find it, and I think when I played there with the group, some of who had played before, but quite a few hadn't, I think I'd played it 3 times by then, or maybe I think we played 14 holes one day and we were a bit close to the clubhouse and a glass of Guinness, so we went in. But to play with people on that, it was sort of, it made me realise just how much I'd picked up about the course, explaining to the people that hadn't played it before as we're going through the round what was ahead and what I thought was the preferred line of play, how much challenge there was ahead that they couldn't see yet, how much they were going to enjoy it if they got it right, and how much they were going to swear if they got it wrong. So yes, certainly all great courses, but Dollymount needed more for me to realise just how good it was.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you have Baltray in there, County Louth. I've had the pleasure of 3 or 4 plays this year. Obviously only once with you, but a few others as well. And I most recently had another pal of mine, Jasper Miners, who listeners will know the name from Evaluating and the top100golfcourses.com website. And it absolutely blew him away. He's a big Simpson fan at the best of times anyway. Just the semi-blindness and that whole notion that Simpson had of suppressio viri, if you can get inside your head and if there's a semi-blind shot, if you get into the right position of the fairway, you can see where you're going. If not, it's just that creation of doubt, which crops up a good few times in that routing. I've always loved Baltray, but it's actually risen in my estimation the more I play it. Much like Portmarnock keeps showing you different things to avoid.
Yeah.
Listen, we might look at a few of your favourite holes, maybe a few favourite par 3s,
Sure.
a few favourite par 4s, and a few favourite par 5s. You might let us know where they are and why you've chosen them.
Okay. I may be scratching my head. I found in prep for this some stuff I wrote down after the trip because I'm terrible at until I go back and back trying to remember. And I did actually go through sort of what were my 3, 4s and 5s, and I had a long list of par 4s and a few 5s. I didn't actually have that many 3s, but I think I just probably didn't think about them much. But I did write down 3 at Ballybunion, which is the downhiller. Sort of points you back to the cemetery, as I recall. That sound right? Yeah. So, which, as I recall, is probably 170 yards downhill.
Yep.
Just early in the round, ask you for me a mid to long iron, depending on whether the wind's going to kick you into the cemetery or bring you up short. Just from a high point to a low point, just a terrific looking hole as well. lot of interest around the green, lots of runoffs, particularly like that hole. The 15th at St Patrick's, which turns you away from the water into a shelved green with a lot of high ground behind it.
Uphill, yeah.
Yep.
Angela Moser's work, I believe, yeah.
And what I particularly liked about that, hidden from us, because it was the first time, and the wind was howling right to left. And I think there's a big dune on your right that you think, oh, that'll save it a bit. But as you get up to the green, there's a huge gap on your right. And you think, oh, this is okay, heading up the green, and it obviously gets into that gap where the wind's hit it, and goodbye to you. I found that particularly, the way the green site and the way it was benched in there, really, really liked that. Didn't love the walk up to the next tee from there, but it was late in the day, and we were old buggers. So they were the two par threes for me that stood out. I thought I had some other notes on those, but I don't. But they were just terrific, those two in particular, I thought.
And par fours?
So par four, the aforementioned 18th at your lovely club, Royal Dublin. Flat land. Is it a 90-degree dogleg? It's very close, isn't it?
It's 90 degrees. The tee is slightly offset to the straight, but it is a 90-degree dogleg.
And at my length, I can't get to the dogleg, which is fine because then you just hit over the inside corner, which has got nothing to stop you except your own poor play and using the bottom groove and hitting it out of bounds. So your option off the tee, of course, you want to get over to the right-hand side. There's a bit of bush and gorse over there on the right-hand side of the fairway, and of course the red penalty area if you go too far. And then to hit across the corner of what is out of bounds to a green that does accept, but everybody must overclub that green, and then you've got the fence behind it, which is out of bounds as well. So you either, imagine if you're being careful and it's you've got a score going. You're not until you've played that. Well, certainly that last run a few holes there, but just so many options and so much trouble, but so much theatre. I think, sit up on the balcony or sit in the clubhouse there, look down on that and watch people come through. Terrific entertainment. As I say, I think of that hole a lot. I love it. It's simple and great.
Yeah, it's one of those holes that first time you play it, if people get it right, they don't really see what the fuss is, but just the repeated play just builds up scar tissue and more scar tissue and more scar tissue. And invariably, because of the length of the hole, it's probably in reality, well, yesterday it was definitely playing as a par 5 with a southeasterly straight into you. So you're playing for 5, really, unless you're a scratch golfer or a bigger hitter, if you like. Invariably, you're waiting over that second shot, thinking about what to do or thinking more about what not to do. And oftentimes, if I'm on a score, I'll try and not get to my ball until I'm free to hit. You want to hit that shot as quickly as possible, just for fear of getting the wrong thought in your head, because you know that that there is danger there. But there's no, as you say, there's no penalty for being long. No, as long as you're not through the fence.
Yeah, but as you say, scar tissue is a great thing. Be a great match play hole, I'd imagine too. Like it must turn a few there, I would think.
It has necessitated going down 19 more times than I care to remember in my own personal golfing odyssey. Yeah.
Other par 4, so 12th at the European Club was the hole I was waiting for the whole time I was there. Down along the water, it was spectacular as you turn to, I'm more into what a golf course really is, but, no one's immune to eye candy, and that just looks majestic and is. I have to say we played in a brutal wind there that day and wasn't overly enjoyable, but I was waiting for a hole like that for 11 holes, and it came, and it was I was none disappointed. And again, I didn't know it was coming. I had no, other than talking to people that had played or not actually read about some things of people that had played the course, and it seemed to be quite a polarizing course. So I was interested to know what I was going to experience and what I would think of it by the end.
That's the one with the 140-yard green.
Yeah, but it just, well, I didn't know that looking at it. Again, I was not aware of that, but it does it well. You're playing to a flag, I suppose. I did, and as someone that didn't know that, just playing from the fairway, I was just playing to a green. I didn't know that I couldn't tell where it started and where I was because it was slightly above where the land was slightly above where I was standing. It's a bit gimmicky, I suppose, the green thing, but it didn't take away from the vista and the challenge of playing the hole, or I didn't think.
Yeah, there's something about playing parallel with the shore, right?
Yeah. And you're not really aware it's coming, I don't think. The walk from the fourth green to the fifth tee at Barnbougle is you first time you see the water, but you know it's there. But then when you get up on top of the hill there and see it, it's all world, and that's just, oh, how pleasant. And I have to mention the 14th at the island, that's the 14th, the narrow one,
Correct. That was originally the first hole.
Yes. You wouldn't want 18 holes like that on your golf course, but to have that one, it was just amazing. Just, I don't know how narrow that is. That fairway that you're expected to hit is at its point. Pretty much. I
think it's 14 or 15 places.
Yeah, with the red penalty area over the back, which is over the side, over on the right, to save you bothering to go look for your ball because you're not going to find it down there. It's just terrific. Like the caddy had talked about that a few holes out, and again, I didn't know anything about that golf course, and absolutely zero about that golf course, and it was quite the thing. Unfortunately, that was one of the courses I would have liked to. We were a bit late in the day there, and it had rained, and we were caught up a bit. But they seemed to have a lot of history on the walls there that would have been terrific to get involved with. But we were whisked away fairly quickly from there, unfortunately. But looked fantastic. What else have I got? The 5th and the 14th, both at Port Marnock. I believe the 5th is going to get chopped and changed a little bit. Should they get an open there, which is in discussion. Just the blind drive, a huge landing area over the top, which you don't really know there. Caddy told us it was just followed over that stone or whatever the mark was at the time. But the reveal as you go over the hill, and a big flat fairway, green that's not easy to approach. I think we played certainly one of the rounds to a front pin, which was just delightful and diabolical. Super hole. Really, really good. And what to say, the 14th.
The 14th green is devilish.
Is it 15th?
15th is the picture postcard part 3. Alongside the one before. Yeah.
I've got it now. Yeah, that green is just fantastic. Yeah, and that was what I was thinking when I wrote that hole down. Just the, you need to get a good drive as well to get to, so you're not hitting a 5-iron in. You need to approach that green with an 8-iron or a 9-iron if you possibly can. The 2 times I played it with a tailwind, so I think we had shortish irons in. But yeah, nowhere good to miss. You don't want to be going side to side on that place.
No, and it's another one of those ones where ignorance is bliss. If you don't know what's up there, you can quite conceivably hit the shot you have to hit and not realise that actually you've diabolical long left, long right, short left, short right, and all those bloody bunkers that collect, and it's just, and the crap over on the left hand side. It's just such a great hole because there's so much jeopardy.
Yeah. I had the 8th at County Louth as well, and that's the sweeping right-hander, I think. Yeah,
it is correct.
Again, a semi, depending on where you were, a semi-blind approach to that green, which is pretty big, lots of room around it. But again, trepidation on the tee shot, trying to get it onto the correct side of the fairway so that you've got a much easier shot in for your second, at least, especially for first-timers or second-timers. You really want to be seeing your landing area if you possibly can. I really enjoyed that hole.
You do, and that green falls away from you, and you have that sneaky bunker on the right hand side of the fairway that you can't see off the tee. So that's the place you don't want to be. Not that I like using this phraseology, but it's framed beautifully in the neck of that saddle, if you like, as the fairway cascades down the hill.
Yes, yeah, quite right. And the 6th at Cork, which into the cliff.
Yeah, the quarry hole.
Yes. And the member who kindly took us around the day was explaining it to us on the tee, but couldn't really picture what was ahead. But very pleased to see it when we did. And yeah, that was a terrific hole. Really enjoyed that.
As a Mackenzie aficionado, Did you see much semblance of Mackenzie still left?
I thought one of the par fives I was going to say I like was the fifth down along the river, and that certainly I thought elements of Mackenzie's strategy, sides of fairway, risk reward. It's almost like a half par hole, I would say, for modern day players, par 4.5, that sort of thing. The holes over that part of the course had a feeling of the Mackenzie about it. The only other Mackenzie parkland I'd played is Duff House Royal, and in Scotland, and it's bounded by a river, I think, from memory, and it's quite a parkland course. Not great sight, and that was about the second game of golf I think I had in Scotland. Didn't really know what I was looking at, but I would love to go back there and just see if there are elements of the two there. But it didn't have a feel of a Mackenzie, but only probably because I just haven't played Mackenzie Parklands. I don't know. Is that a fair summation? Is it a fair example of Mackenzie Parkland course?
Pass.
Okay, par fives. What have I got? Yep. The 16th at Portmoney, I just loved because it was just brutally hard each time I played it. Played into the first time I played it into just, as you probably remember, sideways rain, drops the size of a poodle's head. I reckon I don't know that I lifted my head above the parallel with the ground for the whole hole. And when I played it a fortnight later, still into a headwind, but at least it wasn't raining, and had my head almost vertical. I didn't know those bunkers were there. Like, I'd walk past stuff, I had no idea what was even there. But it was so good, and it's got that little rise for the second with the bunkers benched into it that look at you. Really good green site, nice bunking around it. It really asks you, especially, is that the prevailing breeze, I suppose? Well, not really. There's a westerly.
That hole generally plays left to right, but left to right wind, not necessarily an into there. You're probably heading sort of northwesterly there.
Yeah.
If my compass direction is right there. So it would be more usual that you'd have 17 and 18 into the wind.
Oh, okay, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be normally left to right. Yeah, interesting. Anyway, love that because the challenge of it was fantastic. And lovely bunkered hole, good green. I've got the 15th at the Island, sweeping round. Really,
that's a great green
really
site.
Great green site. Really great green site. And right-hand side of the fairway, got a bit of blindness trying to come to it. I think there might be a target behind the green for those that can't see it. Yeah, it asks 3 solid shots, or 2 very solid shots, and then just a terrific hole. No easy bad shot on it, I didn't think. The 18th at Waterville, again similar to 12 at European in as much as down parallel with the water, a great reveal. You see all that water and a lot of the great stuff on it before you get to it, but it's still down there, sweeps around, fairly big target, the fairway. You got the clubhouse in the background. Get out of the wind, come home and have a drink. It's just a great looking hole. Really good looking hole.
So it took you 50 odd years to make your first trip to Ireland. You missed out on the big course at Royal County Down. Obviously both courses at Portrush, Port Stewart, Nairn and Portneuf, Critch Island, County Sligo, Strand Hill, Carn, and quite a few others. I'm assuming it won't be long before you're planning another trip to the Emerald Isle.
It won't be 50 years. It won't be 5 years. It'll be less than that. Yes. I think 26 is probably off the agenda, but 2027 is looking strong at this stage. And unfortunately, thanks to some podcaster who's done a whole series on Netherlands golf, I've got to add that to my trips as well. I thought the only good sand dunes in the Netherlands were ones you could see at the F1 track, but it would appear there's a fair bit more than that going on from some of your episodes and your most recent talk to the Depan man.
Yeah, well, we will get on to Roderick Ritchie in a second, but you will absolutely adore the golf in the Netherlands.
Yes. Now I just have to be more organised about getting a right time, not wasting travel time, and getting a big trip and doing it right.
As you mentioned, I recently hosted Roderick Ritchie, the course chairman at Utrecht Golf Club de Pan, on the pod. So I'm keen to just compare and contrast the organisation of course committees and structures therein at heritage golf clubs like Royal Adelaide and Utrecht. I understand you've been a member of the course committee at Royal Adelaide for the past few years. Just wondering initially how the opportunity arose to get involved.
Thanks, Shane. Yes, I've been on, I think, in my third year now on the course subcommittee, not a member of the main committee, course subcommittee. The subcommittees are made up of members of the general committee, some, and then people that they second in who have interest or expertise or a rough knowledge of the subject matter that subcommittee deals with. So I was the chairman of the course subcommittee. At our course is usually the vice captain, and the current captain, who was the previous vice captain 3 years ago, rang me up at the start of his tenure as vice captain and asked me if I'd be interested in joining the course subcommittee, which I was very pleased to do. As we spoke earlier, like a long interest in course architecture and a lot of interest in in Royal Adelaide and its history and its future going forward. So that's basically it. I guess he was someone I speak to quite often before that anyway, so I guess he got to know, or he might have got a recommendation from someone that spoke to me that said he seems to have a bit of a clue. Mightn't be the worst person to have on the course subcommittee. And our course subcommittee is, as I say, comprising some full committee members, but also included a couple of lady members, very quality golf, like a low handicap golfer, and various handicaps across the board. So we try to get a broad view, so to speak, on it, or they do.
Gotcha. How many members would you have on the committee?
Okay, so the vice captain chairs it, captain sits on it. We have 2 other committee members that sit on the course subcommittee, and there is 1, 2, 3 or 4 just other members who have, like myself, have been invited on.
Okay.
Yeah. The course superintendent sits in on the meetings, of course. General manager and one of the golf operations manager sits in on most of the meetings as well.
Well, hello to Sarah Chi if she's listening, by the way.
I'll make sure she hears you. Yeah, she's, as you know, the current vice captain and the current chair of the course subcommittee. And as I say, that we generally do a 2-year term at Royal Adelaide. So the course subcommittee I was on, when you're asked, you last for 2 years. In case I suppose you can get told to leave at any time, but generally stay on for 2 years, and then the next vice captain comes in and picks who they want. Some people carry over, some say they've had enough and move on. I was fortunate enough that Sarah Chia thought enough of, or was told enough of my input was worthwhile, that I got invited again, and I was very, very happy to stay.
Just wondering how you retain institutional knowledge at RA on that committee, Terry?
Okay. From fairly extensive minute taking, you can go back over the years and see what has been discussed, and almost nothing is new, as you know. Just comes along in different forms in some cases. The Royal Adelaide has a very fine tradition of, if they don't happen to give you their opinion, seeking opinion from past captains, because at the end of their tenure as captain, they fall off the committee. Some come back as a president or vice president, but they, by the time they've had their captaincy and leave, they've been probably committee members for upwards of 12 years or so. So that's not something you want to just walk out the door and ignore. The reason the course is in such fine shape now, in all aspects, I don't just mean the holes on the ground, but the whole place, is a credit to what's come before us. And our job, of course, is to improve where we can, but make sure we retain what we've got.
And do you think golfing IQ is something that's valuable on course committees? And indeed, how would you assess your own?
I think it's important. I think it's vital. But I think golf IQ takes a lot of different forms. I think my general knowledge is improving every time. Certainly a trip to Ireland hasn't made me more stupid in that regard. And Royal Adelaide members do tend to travel a fair bit for golf, both Australia and overseas. So we get, in fact, and I think one of our course subcommittee people sent some photos a little while ago. They were in the UK and saw something that they liked, took a photo, something to, not to do with the course design, but it might be course furniture, or it might be something that the pro shop there is doing for their customers that we could do. So we get lots of information from different places, and a lot of input from some, as I say, a low handicap golfer will give you input on course setup changes, other ideas. You just never know where the next really good idea is going to come from. I like to think I've contributed some, but it's across from everybody, and sometimes out of the mouth of babes, as you say. But yes, a general golf IQ on course setup is very important, or basically an understanding of what we've got and why we've got where we are today. And Royal Adelaide is a club that does things in a very considered way. You might say your 2-year term at a course subcommittee, you spend the 2 years implementing what the previous course subcommittee did, and then making recommendations that the next course subcommittee will do. While you're actually there, you're sort of dealing with the past and looking at stuff for the future.
Like many clubs in Australia, Royal Adelaide appears to have developed a cultural expectation of continuous improvement. To this end, I believe the club has utilised the consulting services of Brian Slonick of Renaissance Golf Design for the past decade or so. I'm just wondering how you found the experience of working with Brian and Renaissance in general.
Personally, in my mind, it's been terrific. I've spoken with Brian a few times, but not hugely at length. But he is someone, and I don't deal with the minutiae of planning what he's going to do on the next visit. We talk about at meetings about feedback from members, what's working, if something's not working. But the club has got a long-term view for things that may or may not need changing, or as the game develops, or as trends come in. But we're very much as steady as she goes, take long consideration to make sure that that we're not reacting quickly to today's fashion and find that we have to do something else next time. And Brian's very considered. I think he matches the club very well in that regard. He's built up a hell of a lot of trust over his 10 or 12 years that he's been involved with the club. His work in the field, he's still on, does a lot of the shaping himself. I watched him finish off the 10th green, which we changed a few years ago. He rebuilt a few years ago, expanded it and put some new pin positions. We had to change some of the fairway for boundary issues. So we took the advantage to just to tweak a few things on the green, which involved a rebuild of the green. And I think he went everywhere from excavator to shaper. And I happened to be walking past that area as he was finishing. He was walking around the green. It had been finished, done, ready to, I think it might have even been seeded. And he was walking around the green in circles with his eyes closed with a rake behind him, just feeling the ground through the pole of the rake. Like he's got, if I didn't know who he was, I might have thought of called an ambulance. But his attention to detail, and you see something that's done when he's been there and you think, oh, yes, that makes sense. And then you'll realise when you look at it from 90 degrees and 100 metres away that it served a dual purpose of opening up a view to here or getting rid of an unsightly this or whatever. It's just, he's amazing. He's terrific to work with, and we're very, very pleased and fortunate to have him. And Renaissance.
He was back relatively recently, I think, working on 17 and 18.
We had him for 10 days, which is great. He doesn't take a day off. Every time you look out there when he's in Adelaide, he's on the course. He puts the hours in and gets a hell of a lot of work done. This time around, we've changed the fairway line, on 17 this is, sorry. A change of the fairway bunkering, removal of 5 bunkers up near the green. The green has stayed intact, which I'm very pleased with. It's a green that polarises a little bit for some. For me, it's probably my favourite green on the course. I just love the options it gives you and the different ways you can play the hole because of it. a new tee to the right of the existing one, so it's still a sweeping left to right play. It's a dog leg without it being a sharp turn. It's just a continuous curve, if you like. And we've pushed the member tee on 18 across to the right, so it lines up with where the red tee was. So you stand on that tee now, you can see all the veranda of the clubhouse, the old cannon, the flagpole, the starter's hut near the first tee, and part of the clubhouse roof as well. And just a delightful view of the hole. You can also see all the bunkering on the hole now, whereas the left-hand bunkers used to be hidden from the tee. Basically taking a tiny little bit of dogleg out to a straight hole, and a simple but really great improvement.
And any idea what he's still got left on the to-do list?
The 18, there'll be some work, I believe, next year on some of the fairway bunkering. Still to be determined. He's probably had a real good look at that while he's been out this time, and we'll get some more recommendations from him about that, I would say. There was a proposal to increase the green size back as it feeds around toward the sort of first tee to get some more pin positions. That might mean that some of the bunkering on the right-hand side has changed. So again, there'd certainly be changes to that second half of the hole. And I believe we're probably looking at sort of some small stuff on the first and second hole, and I don't think anyone has got any thoughts well, they've probably got thoughts, but there's nothing beyond that is proposed or planned or scheduled at the moment. And those changes to those holes will still be over the same sort of same ground for golf, but just some improvements, fairway bunkering changes. We have a large bunk on the right of 2 that pushes up against the 5th green. We can do a bit of work on that, which will give a bit more protection to the 5th tee, not the 5th green. Give a bit of protection to the players standing on the 5th tee as you're playing the second hole. So, yeah, but nothing that if it's done when you come back next time, you'll know you're playing the same hole.
Well, Terry, you'd be glad to hear we're nearing the end of our chat. And as a listener, you'll know I conclude proceedings by asking my guests the same final questions. As usual, our penultimate one relates to approximately 5 bucket list courses. You may play them before, or indeed never have played them. So where are you going, and why have you picked them?
Okay. I was very fortunate, again, fell on my feet in November 2005 to play Cypress Point Club as an unaccompanied guest through nobody I knew, but through a very good friend in my Sydney days, who got me on there. And in preparation for that, I pored over Jeff Shackelford's very fine book, Cypress Point Club, full of all those great black and white photos. And I was thrilled and amazed to see that those photos could have been taken the week before I got there. The place looked exactly the same, pretty much. It's a course that I think since the 50s hasn't had much outside tournament play. It was great to see the Walker Cup there a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a thrilling experience to play there. And I said to our mutual friend Matthew Molliker when I came back, who hadn't been there at that stage, he has now. He said, "How was it?" And I said, "If they rang me up tomorrow and said you can come back and just play the 8th and the 9th, I'd jump on a plane straight away. It's that good." Such an experience. I think either the 9th at Cypress or the pit hole at North Berwick is at 12. They're my 2 favourite holes in the world. They're just so good. I don't think I really need to explain to anyone that knows anything about Cypress Point Club why you'd want to go back or go there once. Very fortunate to go there. May not ever get there again, but one day that would be fantastic. Crystal Downs, a Mackenzie, I think a Doak 10. I did speak, sitting around chewing the fat with a Renaissance intern, I think, and I don't think it was Angela. This is many, many years ago, but it was a female intern, and she was at Royal Melbourne having a look around, as you would be, and playing. And I asked her, and she had played, I think she'd just come from Crystal Downs maybe, and I asked her if it was as good as Tom said, and which was better, that or Royal Melbourne, and she fell for Crystal Downs. So I thought, if it's that good, and it's a Mackenzie, there's one I want to see, certainly. A big hole in my list of courses that I haven't played is Muirfield. I would love to experience that circular in and out routing that they do, not to mention the lunch, of course, but just the design of that. I don't know how much of it you can put down to old Tom Morris, but every time I play a course that he's touched, I love it. And that would be a special place to go, I think. And Royal County Down, as you mentioned before, we played the Annesley Links. You took me up there kindly on County Down, I think, on my next trip. Would be a terrific. And I guess I have to say 7 Mile Beach, because that's an easy bucket list. I am going there. The anticipation has been fantastic. And, that one at least I get to cross off very soon. Was that 5? I think it was.
Yeah, that's 5. Actually, and while we're on newish golf courses, and you being the local South Australian correspondent, one final question before we get on to book recommendations that's just occurred to me pertains to the Cliffs golf development on Kangaroo Island that Darius Oliver has been working on for some time. Just wondering, have you heard anything about it recently? I believe preview play may be upcoming early in the new year.
I know nothing from any local source. I would know as much as anyone who's looking at stuff online about the photos. Look terrific. I've only been to Kangaroo Island myself once. I'm not even, I've seen a map where it is, but I don't know and been out to that side of the island. But yes, I think they're talking to play next year sometime, maybe April at the end of the growing season. That'll be terrific. Not that it's easy to get to from here, but certainly be worth a trip for us to go over there. And then, another destination, another group of people to come here for golf.
Finally, Terry, you might recommend 2 golf books for the discerning golfer that may be interested in augmenting their respective golfing libraries.
Sure. They're not instruction books. Having seen my game, you'll be surprised that I don't waste my time on those, because I'm beyond that sort of help. One of the earliest golfing books I read was The Captain by Jeff Shackelford.
You're also very self-deprecating.
Well, I thought I could hit a ball, and then I played with you. Your golf balls say "ouch" when you hit them. Mine say, "Ooh, is that the best you've got?"
I can't hit the ball either.
Anyway, the Captain I read many years ago, certainly before that trip I mentioned in playing Cypress Point in 2005. I also played LA Country Club and San Francisco Golf Club. So I got a Mackenzie, a Tillinghast and a George Thomas all in the one trip. Saw a total of about 10 other people on those 3 golf courses, I think, in the November. Not much going on. And a really good read, and not just about him as the man, but there was a fair bit of golf architecture in there, given that Shackelford wrote it, and well described, easy to picture what he was talking about, especially his designs for starting par 5s and that sort of thing. Sticks with me. And I mentioned old Tom Morris before, the book, and anyone listening to this that has this book and it's got my name inside the front cover, because I can't remember who I lent it to and I don't have it anymore, so I'd like it back. But Tom Morris of St Andrews, The Colossus of Golf, is probably my favourite read of any book. It's favourite read of any golf course. Just the detail, the history, the story, St Andrews, Prestwick. It's just a great read. I think it has a human history and interest. I won't say my wife will read it, but people that aren't golf related could probably read it and find, if you're interested in that period of history in Scotland, when Tom was quite an extensive life, it's probably worth a read as well. It's probably my favourite golf book of all.
Terry, that's all I got. So reluctantly, I'll have to bid you adieu. Very glad to hear that you enjoyed your time here, and look forward to once again welcoming you whenever the stars align back over here in Ireland. Go easy, mate.
Well, thank you very much. As I say, I felt I was overwhelmed with the welcome that I was provided by your good self and others. And of course, look forward to you and anyone else you might want to point our way. If they come with your recommendation, then I'll be happy to look up.
Very kind, very kind. Chat soon, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Many thanks for tuning in. If you don't currently follow us on socials, you can do so as follows. On X, you can find us at Firm and Fast Golf. On Instagram, Firm and Fast Golf Podcast. On Blue Sky, if you're that way inclined, the Firm and Fast Golf Podcast. On YouTube at the Firm and Fast Golf Podcast, and indeed finally on Substack at the Firm and Fast Golf Podcast, occasional newsletter. We favour to ask, if you're still with us, if you're enjoying the show, you might consider giving us a star rating or a review on your podcast platform of choice. It really would be appreciated. Thanks again for listening.